Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making sugar cookies that are perfect for any occasion. I make these all the time for birthday parties, gender reveals, and just any holiday that I want my kids to have a fun, easy, affordable activity. These are perfect. Usually when I make these, it's for my kids to decorate themselves in a kit. So I don't even worry about the decorating aspect of the cookies. These cookies freeze really well. They'll hold for months in the freezer. In fact, the ones I'm making today are for Easter in a couple of weeks, and they're gonna stay in my freezer until I'm ready for my kids to decorate them. A lot of bakeries are selling the do-it-yourself sugar cookie decorating kits these days. So this is just a version of that to make yourself at home and save some money. Plus, my kids never get tired of decorating cookies. Many versions of these cookies make great teacher gifts. You put them in a clear sleeve, put a ribbon on it with a gift card, awesome gift. I was a teacher for 7 years and I would love to get that gift. This recipe has tons of uses. It's come in so clutch for me when my kids need just an activity to do or I need a last minute gift. And I keep a few extras in the freezer, usually just to whip out whenever I need them. So let's get into it. The first thing you're gonna need is 2.5 sticks of butter, softened at room temperature. Now, if you chop up your sticks of butter, it will get to room temperature and get softened much faster than if you just throw the whole stick in. This is 2.5 sticks of salted butter. I like to use salted butter so that I can skip the salt later. If you only have unsalted, you could definitely use that, but you would want to add a pinch of salt later. So make sure that sits out for a couple of hours until it gets soft. You can kind of touch it with your finger, and if it bends easily, then it's ready to go. Do not melt your butter in the microwave. I know it's tempting to expedite things, but you don't want to put hot butter in this recipe because it's not going to hold the ingredients together. So once your butter is softened at room temperature, you're just going to pour it into a large mixing bowl. And like with most recipes, you're gonna want to mix all of your liquid, soft ingredients first and then slowly add your dry ingredients to get the right consistency. So after your butter is softened, we're gonna add 3 teaspoons of vanilla. I had to open a new bottle because I only had 1 teaspoon in that bottle. Okay. Now I know 3 teaspoons of vanilla probably sounds like more than most recipes, just because it is. I really like the flavor of vanilla. Sometimes I'll even add lemon extract, gives it a little different flavor, but I really enjoy the flavor that brings. So feel free to use less if you do not enjoy that. All right, next we're gonna put 1 large egg. You're gonna put the whole egg. Next, we're gonna add another egg, but this time we're only gonna add the yolk. So we're gonna separate the white out and then pour the yolk into our mixture. I like to do that in the sink so I don't make a mess. So I have just the yolk left in my shell. I'm gonna add that. It's not the end of the world if you have a little bit of extra egg white in there, but you don't need the whole thing. So we've added the butter, the vanilla, 1 egg, and 1 egg yolk at this point, and the butter is softened. So we're going to use our electric hand mixer to cream that butter, and then we're going to incorporate 1 cup of sugar. So I've added my 1 cup of sugar, and my mixture looks like this. It's a very creamy, thick consistency, and we are now ready to start adding our dry ingredients. Now, before I get the rest of the ingredients, I'm gonna preheat my oven to 325. I find that if I do that around this point, it's ready when I need to put the cookies in. All right, so oven is preheating to 325. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, no more. Add 3 generous cups of flour. I am using unbleached bread flour today. I've used all-purpose before, works just as well. Any flour you have is fine. I've used both and I get great cookies each time. So you need 3 total cups of flour. I like to do 1 at a time, mix it, add another one, mix it until I have the full 3 cups. So 2nd cup of flour is going in. Make sure you get everything out of the cup. Mix it up. All right, 3rd cup of flour, going to mix that in. cup of flour is incorporated, and if that didn't take you any elbow grease to mix in, then you might not have been using enough flour, because it should be quite thick at this point to where you can form a ball and it'll stay. Take your dough out of your bowl. See, it's just one big lump, and you want to work it into a ball the best you can. It doesn't need to be perfect. And just set it back in your bowl. We need to make sure that we have a clean surface to work the dough on and cut our shapes out. I usually just use my counter, just make sure it's clean and prepped with flour. You can use a cutting board or a placemat, whatever you're comfortable with. Before we start working the dough, you're gonna wanna have your baking sheet lined with parchment paper ready to go, so that when you cut your shapes, you have the surface ready to place them on and they don't settle too much somewhere else. You're gonna wanna keep your flour on hand. Don't put that away just yet. You're gonna need it to flour your surface several times throughout this process. So you take your dough ball and you just give it a good roll in this flour so that it doesn't stick. This is what you are going for with your dough ball. Floured surface, nice and smooth. And then when my daughter makes these with me, this is her favorite part. We throw it on the ground, and then I use the palm of my hand, not my fingers. I'm not pushing into it. I use the flat palm of my hand to evenly space the dough a little bit. Now I'll use my rolling pin to get it nice and smooth. You want these to be about 1/4 inch thick, or if you prefer a thinner cookie, that's fine. Just know that you are gonna get more cookies out of it if you roll that thin. I like about 1/4 inch thick. I feel like that makes a soft cookie that still bakes through evenly. It doesn't need to be perfect on that first roll, because you're gonna be reshaping it each time you go through the cookie. So now at this point, you're going to want to get whatever shape of cutter you're gonna be using. Remember, I said I'm making these for Easter, so I'm gonna grab Easter themed cookies, probably just an egg shape or whatever I can find. I told y'all I make these a lot, so I have a huge collection of cookie cutters. And I'm gonna find a couple Easter themed ones for my kiddos. I really like this set of cookie cutters because it makes it easy to find what I'm looking for, since most of them are color coded to the holiday that you're going for. So I know that most of the yellow ones are gonna be Easter themed, most of the orange are gonna be Halloween, blue are patriotic. So this was a great purchase. For this one, I'm just gonna use 3 shapes. And I'm gonna cut a few of each. I just press it into the dough as many times as fits. And then we will take the extra out. Now we just peel the outer dough away from our shapes. We can make several new smaller dough balls. And once you have a little piece of the shape free, you can usually just pull it off. Remember, we floured this surface, so they shouldn't be sticking to your surface. If they are, you want to be using a little more flour. It's coming off really nicely. And now all my shapes are free, and I have the extra dough in a ball. And we will put these on our parchment lined baking sheet and repeat the process as many times as we can. I like to use my hands to lift them from the surface. You can use a spatula. I've just found that sometimes that punctures the dough. All right, so I've got my cookie sheet lined with parchment. I've got my cutout cookies ready to go. Now at this point, you have an option. You can put this in your preheated oven, or you can stick it in your refrigerator for 5 to 10 minutes just to bring the temperature down and give it a little more structure since it's been sitting out for a while now. It's pretty soft. I'm just gonna stick it in my oven. Again, these are just for us, just for my family, so I'm not going for perfection. If you want super crisp, clean lines, and that's important to you, pop it in the fridge for a few minutes. It'll hold the structure a little bit better when you put it in the oven, so it'll hold its shape. Alexa, set a timer for 12 minutes. Every single time I make a batch, I cook it at 325 for 12 minutes. The only exception to that is if I'm making minis, and then it will do 10 minutes. But standard size cookies, 12 minutes at 325, perfect every time. You're gonna repeat that process as many times as you need to until you used up all of your dough. And for me, it's helpful to have multiple baking sheets so you can put them in at once. And even if you have multiple ovens, you can cook a lot at one time and save you some time. Otherwise, just let them chill out in your fridge or on the counter until you're able to get them all in for 12 minutes. Now, when you pull them out of the oven, they should have a slightly brown edge. Okay, do not touch them or try to move them until they are cooled. If you have a cooling rack and you want to use a spatula to transfer them there, that's fine. But don't try to stack them up or wrap them or definitely not ice them until they're completely cooled, okay? Because they are still cooking when you pull them out of the oven. Now, I found that this recipe makes about 22, almost 2 dozen cookies. My 2 small children do not need 2 dozen sugar cookies to decorate for Easter. So I'm making them about a dozen, and the rest I am making mini hearts, circles, basic shapes to repurpose for the future. I'm going to bake them and then pop them into the freezer for future use. I will probably use a lot of these for teacher appreciation. I'm going to ice them, put them in sleeves with, again, a ribbon and a gift card. Great gift. And that's it. Once they are all cooled down, you can stack them up on your plate. You can put them in Ziploc bags to put in the freezer, and you have yourself some ready to ice sugar cookies for many occasions. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe and let me know if you try out this recipe and how it went for you.